Hey everyone, welcome to ALB programming lesson. Java Simplified. In this series, we're pretty much making a small program as described here. In the fourth lesson, we've analyzed the requirement and extracted some specific points. Then in the fifth lesson, we have translated this data model into a Java code, so to speak. We already learned how to use a Java class, such as declaring an object, initializing an object, calling class method like this. Also, we've learned to use integer and string and learn to assign value to these variables. But we've never messed with this one, schedule, whose data type is date. Today we will learn how to use it in this lesson. Let's make another test program dedicated to studying date and time in Java. Expand this project. Right-click on the source folder. New. Class. Let's name the class date time demo. You can name the class whatever you want. Let's also include the main method. Click Finish. As always, let's declare a variable whose data type is date and variable name now. Here's an error. Put the mouse cursor over the date. After a couple of seconds, you see a pop-up. Click on Import Date, this one, with java.util. We need to import the right class in the right package. Click it. Then at the top of the source code file, you notice a statement, an import statement. Now let's initialize the variable. Now equal to new space date parenthesis semicolon. Date is a class, like what we've learned in the fifth lesson. Just like this one. But the class date is way more complicated than the course. When we use a class in Java programming, we declare a variable and initialize that variable to allocate the memory to it. Now let's observe the value of this variable. Just like what we've done in the hello world, we call the method println. Let's type now. Alright, this line of code prints a line of text in the console. Well, let me give you a bonus tip. These empty lines don't affect the result of the program. In other words, if you delete some empty lines or add lots and lots of empty lines and run the program, the result will be the same as not adding so many empty lines. You can try on your own. I'll just delete these lines, save the file, and run the program. How to run a program? Right-click on the source code file, run as Java application. Look at this. This is the date time when this program is executed. This date and time should be the same as when I was recording this video, and it must be different from your result. Now, let's take a closer look at this object. As we know, now is an object of date. Date is a class. Let's see what variables the date class has. Let's do some breakpoint debugging. Put the cursor at the 7th line and set a breakpoint. Right-click on the source code file. Debug as and Java application. It's asking me if I want to open the debug perspective. I'll say yes. Here are some debugging tools, FYI. Now my program is paused at this line. When I execute this line, the variable now will be initialized. Click the Step Over button. On the variable panel, there is a now. Let's double click on the tab to get a larger view. Well, here are a whole lot of info about this variable now, like this hour, minutes, year, month, day of month. Alright, this is how to get current date time. Let's think about our small project. So far, we are able to specify subject name, attendance, and classroom. What is missing in the schedule? And the schedule must be someday in the future. Not now, right? Back to our date time demo. Let's declare a variable, someday. And the data type is date. Let's say someday is 2021, July 23rd at 18 o'clock. Let's print out the someday, like what we did to now. I get this error message because I haven't initialized the variable. Let's do it. Someday equal to new space date parenthesis semicolon. Save the file and run the program. Well, we got some problems. These two date time are supposed to be different. I expect someday to be like this. What went wrong? Remember, first of all, this text after the double slash is comment. Program ignores it. We learned it in the third lesson. Second of all, new date parenthesis returns current date time. Now and someday are only variable names. You can name them whatever you want, like cat, dog, yesterday, one day, or end time, start time. You get the idea. In other words, this variable, its variable name is someday, but its value is the current date time. Alright, then how to make someday the one you can specify? We need another class, simple date format. In order to use this class, let's declare a variable first. I'm gonna declare a variable, date format, and the data type is simple date format. Put your mouse cursor over here and import the class. After declaring a variable, we need to initialize it as well. Date format equal to new simple date format. By the way, these two are the same. Then a pair of parentheses and a semicolon. This semicolon has to be written. You can try deleting it and see what will happen. Then we need to call a couple of methods. The first one is date format dot apply pattern. This one. Then delete this arc0 and replace it with a pair of quotation mark. Inside the quote pair, let's type for small y hyphen double M capital M hyphen double D lowercase space double capital H colon, not semicolon, okay? Double M in lowercase. This 4Y is the year. Double M in uppercase stands for the month. Double D is the day of the month. Double H is the hour, but in 24-hour format. And double small m is the minute. So here we told our program the date time format. Now we can store a certain date in a variable. I'm going to store this date time into someday. Instead of using this to initialize someday, let's call a method from SimpleDateFormat class. Let's type someday equal to dateFormat dot parse this one. Replace this arg0 with a pair of quotation mark. Inside the quotation mark, let's copy and paste this date time. Paste it between the quotation mark and the semicolon. But I've got an error. Here's the error message and a couple of quick fix. Let's do surround with try catch. Click here. Here's a few lines of code generated automatically. We've just eliminated one error, but we got another error. Let's just move this line of code. Paste it here. Save the file and run the program. Well, this is the result of someday. Now, why don't we add some label distinguishing these two dates? Here, I'll type a quotation mark, then it goes now, colon. Close the quotation mark, a plus sign for a string concatenation. Similarly, let's also add a label here. Save the file and run the program. Alright, here we can clearly see what is now and what is someday. Finally, I'm gonna give you a bonus tip. Try catch block. Try catch block is used for error handling. I'll repeat again. Try catch block is used for error handling. For example, we have set the date format like this. The month is a 2-digit number. Now I'm going to set the July to 1-digit number by deleting the 0. Let's see if the program can go wrong. Save the file and run the program. Well, nothing went wrong. Alright, let's replace the hyphen with a slash. Here, let's see if this will work. Save the file and run the program. You see a nasty error message here that says parse exception, unparsable dates. As I said, I defined the date format this way, with hyphen, but I tried to parse a date with slash, and my program can't recognize it. This stack trace tells me where the exception has occurred. Click here. Nothing, But when you click here, this line is highlighted because problem or exception has occurred when my program tries to execute this line of code. To take a closer look at what is happening, let's do some breakpoint debugging. Debug as Java application. The program is paused at this line because I set a breakpoint here. Step over to execute this line and pause at the next line. Step over and this line is executed. Printed some text on the console. My program is paused at this line. Let's see what will happen after executing this line. Step over. Here in the variable section, you see a date format. In the date format object, there are these many fields. Let's see what we can understand. Like this locale, it basically means language. Expand it. You see field language, which is Hong Kong English. Let's see, compiled pattern. Alright, that's a total mess. Forget about it. Back to the code. Look at this method. Apply pattern. Just take it literal. This means applying a pattern. A pattern of 4y, 2m, 2d represent the year, month, and the date. This line is actually defining a date format. There won't be so much problem with this line. Next line. This line is executed and program is paused at this line. When you observe the variable, you know that highlighted has become the pattern or format that we defined. Well, this is still a mess. Now, normally, if I click on Step Over button, the program will execute this line and pause at the next line. But if something goes wrong during the execution, the code in the catch block will be executed. Let's see. Let's step over. Alright, something went wrong, and this code is ready to be executed, and it will print a stack trace or error message. Let's see. Step over. You can see the result here. Stack trace also points out where the exception has occurred. Here, this 20, you may notice it's the same as this. Alright, this is pretty much how to define a variable that represents any date time. First of all, you declare a variable or object. When initializing the object, we can't just use new date parenthesis. Instead, we need a simple date format class. We declare an object of it, initialize it, then apply pattern, and finally we initialize the date time that we want to define, like this. This format has to be consistent with this. We learned the meaning of these characters. You can do further research on Java simple date format characters. You can do search with this term. This is any date time. We've also learned to find out the current date time. That's pretty much it. Next lesson, we'll continue to learn date time in Java. What will we learn? Go check that out. Peace.